Hello dear students. Today we are going to discuss about the topic startup ecosystem and support for entrepreneurs. The reason why I have chosen this topic is because entrepreneurship development is the most sought after topic and the topic of discussion amongst everybody. The Startup India initiative taken by Mr. Modi has also propelled us to discuss and understand about what the Startup India initiative is all about. But before we delve upon this topic, we are going to discuss some terms like what do you actually mean by the term startup, because it is very loosely used by the term firm or a business organization or a company. So there is a lot of difference between the two. So we are going to discuss the differences. Then we will further see what do you exactly mean by the term ecosystem, because startup ecosystem is also very widely used. So we will look at the current statistics in the business environment regarding the startup ecosystem. Further on in this video, we will move on to the industry associations, which are a kind of a support system for sustenance for different startups. So let's start. So before I start, let's start up with the term startup. So startup is an entity which can be filed or which can be opened over a mobile app or through a portal set up by the DPIIT. DPIIT stands for Department of Promotion for Internal Trade and Industry. So for us to recognize a startup as a proper startup, following conditions have to be met. A startup, for it to be a startup, should be registered as a private limited company or registered as a partnership firm or a limited liability partnership. Besides these three, a startup will not be recognized as a startup. If any owner opens the company as a sole proprietor, it will not be considered as a startup. Or even a one-person company is not considered as a startup. So let me summarize. A startup, for it to be recognized as a startup, should have the business organization structured as a private limited company or a registered partnership or a limited liability partnership. Second condition that they have imposed is that the turnover should be less than 100 crore in any of the previous financial years. What do you mean by the term turnover? Turnover is the value of goods and services sold in a year. So that should not be more than 100 crore. The third condition is that any entity is considered as a startup if it is less than 10 years old from the date of its incorporation. The date of incorporation means that from the date of filing the application till the time formally the company has been registered, from that registration date the time period will be taken, and the up till 10 years the company will be considered as a startup according to the Income Tax Act. After that, the company will be considered as a regular company. So these were the three conditions which are considered for us to recognize a company as a startup company. Otherwise, the firm will not be considered as a startup. So startups have a wholesale responsibility apart from this recognition as a startup to work towards innovation, development and improvement of products or services. It could be existing products, it could be a completely new products, depending upon what is the goal of the startup. They also have an additional responsibility for employment generation and wealth creation. In India, we know that employment generation has been done almost 60% through services and very less than 20% with the manufacturing domain. So all these startups should move towards manufacturing area so that we can provide jobs and wealth creation in that particular area. Lastly, an entity should not be split up or reconstructed as an existing business. Otherwise, it will not be considered as a startup, because many people, what they do, they change the name of the company, or they just split up and reconstruct the business and term it as a startup. So this condition will not apply for a firm to be considered as a startup. So I hope the term startup is clear in this video. And now we will move on to the next term, the major term used, startup ecosystem. So the word ecosystem clearly defines the word community. Ecosystem means a community which has been given the responsibility to raise, to nurture, and to grow the startups, right? So community consists of various individuals. Those individuals could be angel investors, those individuals could be private equity owners, those individuals could be self-help groups, agencies, and governments are also involved in providing support to entrepreneurs during initial phases. The ecosystem also needs to be receptive to changes, innovative ideas, and new ways of thinking. Otherwise, if you don't adapt to change, we will not be a dynamic ecosystem, right? So ecosystem is always changing and adapting to the change. Ecosystem also needs to provide financial, technical, and managerial assistance to young startups. Otherwise, the full wholesale responsibility of ecosystem is not fulfilled. Let's have a look at the current statistic, the Indian statistics of the ecosystem. You would be happy to know that India has the third largest startup ecosystem in the world, which is like a huge benefit to the growing economy. Over 26 states in the country have set up startup policies for their respective states. India has about 50,000 startups in India in 2018, and around 9,000 startups were technology-led startups. So almost 1,300 new technology startups were born in 2019 alone, implying that there were around 2 to 3 startups opening every day. So the pace of growth in the startup ecosystem increased to 15%, and the growth of the incubators and accelerators has grown to 11%. Not to forget the women entrepreneurship area, the number of women entrepreneurs stood at 14% growth rate. And this resulted in the startups creating almost 40,000 new jobs over the year. So total jobs in the startup ecosystem resulted to 1.6 to 1.7 lakh till date. So Bangalore has been listed within the world's 20 leading startup cities in the 2019 Startup Genome Project ranking. And it has also been ranked as one of the world's 5 fastest growing startup cities in the world. So the current statistics, we need to keep abreast so that we know that what is our goal and where we have to reach. So India is doing well in these areas, but there is a long way to go, especially in the manufacturing sector, because we have not been able to fulfill the demands still, and we are still dependent on China for most of our manufacturing needs. Now we will discuss the next important topic, that is entrepreneurship development through industry and entrepreneur associations. So let's understand, what do you mean by entrepreneurship and industry associations? So like I said, that startup, for every startup, help is required, support is required, because young students don't have that background, their knowledge is limited, so they need practical exposure, support system. So people from industry came out to help the startups, and they are also called as entrepreneur associations or corporate connect. So industries help is required, and through networking we can socially, financially, and ethically meet our needs. So networking is an important tool, and when you network with the industry people, all these needs shall be met. So startups can get help from industry associations, which will help in knowledge sharing. Industry associations also help in finding co-partners that can partner with the founder of the company, okay, and they will also help you in getting funders for your organization, because the startups main challenge is getting funds for the organization. So when you connect with the industry people, they would help you in getting funders for your organization. They would also highlight the hurdles, the problem area where the uh, actual fault is, so that the startups can correct their mistakes immediately and can get going. Because it's been seen through the survey that 95% of these startups fall into the valley of death. Valley of death means that within 3 to 5 years from the date of incorporation, most of the startups don't even go beyond 5 years uh, registration. That means the life of the startup is not more than 5 years. 95% is a staggering figure, and which we need to improve. So industry associations help these startups to go beyond 5 years and get them to business incubators and accelerators so that they can scale up and rise beyond that. So industry associations help the startups to join similar groups and take support from them. They also give social exposure, provide mentorship and different resources so that these startups can get benefited from there. Now we will see what are the some top industry associations. So if you get to know these associations, you can definitely take help of these industry associations. So one of them is entrepreneur organizations. It is a collection of like-minded people who focus on business growth, personal development, and community engagement. The next one is Young Entrepreneur Council. It offers peer-to-peer support for forums for 24/7 support. They also provide discount on services and products, and they also provide in-person events and editorial assistant with content creation and distribution. Moving on to Founders Card, this is a community of entrepreneurial leaders. They provide exclusive discounts and networking opportunities of Fortune 500 companies. Moving on to Vistage. Vistage has also helped CEOs, small business owners, and key executives. Experts here help to refine the startup's instincts, their judgment, and help to expand their horizon and perspective, their way of thinking, their way of looking at problems, their way of finding solutions. All this is given by Vistage, and the startup should definitely take care of and take help from this company. They have a huge presence and a strong network of 21,000 across 19 countries to gain better insights. Then there is another organization, Ashoka, which was founded way back in 1980. This is one of the key feature, or the USP you can say, is that this is the largest network of social entrepreneurs, over 3,000 members. It provides startup financing, networking opportunities again to professional support systems. Now, we cannot ignore the women entrepreneurs. So, Women Entrepreneurs has a dedicated organization which is known as Federation of Indian Women Entrepreneurs. It was established in 1993 at Hyderabad. So, this organization trains and educates young aspirants and startup women entrepreneurs. So, this organization is specially dedicated to women. Regularly organizing entrepreneurship development programs and skill development programs is the forte of this organization. Skill development, especially in the areas of garment stitching, cutting, security guards, retail, spinning, weaving, etc., in various cities has been done. And last but not the least, Entrepreneurship Council of India, which is a non-profit global forum which connects millions of entrepreneurs. Vision of Entrepreneurship Council of India is to create a strong platform to connect millions of entrepreneurs to achieve the mission people, business, and prosperity. So these were some of the industry associations or groups, or what we called as corporate connect, which help startups, which help young entrepreneurs to connect with the industry. Because through industry, you get to know the latest happenings, the latest statistics, the latest developments, which help us to be in line with the latest happenings in the business environment. So let me quote some examples that have already been done in the industry associations. Facebook recently partnered with Startup India and dispersed a cash grant of $50,000 each to the top 5 selected startups. 10,000 Women program by Goldman Sachs is providing women entrepreneurs all around the world with the business and management education, mentoring and networking, and access to capital. Last but not the least, Microsoft Venture Accelerator program in India has recently picked up 16 startups to work with and provide assistance. So we discussed what is the difference between a startup and a business organization. We also looked at what do you mean by the term ecosystem and the current business statistics. We also saw what do you understand by the term industry associations, and we also looked at the different top industry associations with their examples that which companies are helping these startups to scale up and grow and provide all sort of assistance. So I hope this video helped our young entrepreneurs and students, and we'll come up with more interesting videos in future with the same entrepreneurship development topic. Thank you very much.